Hello everybody, welcome. This is Brandon Waloff and it is January 2nd, 2014. Happy New Year. I'm going to do this recording right now for you, new registrants of the Winter Health Reset program. So I am recording it now, as you can see, on YouTube, and I have my headphones on, and I'm also recording it into an MP3 player app on my phone, and I'm doing that just as backup in case one of these two systems doesn't work. So anyway, Happy New Year. I'm happy and excited that you are listening to this and getting ready to do your 2-week immersion into the winter and a new journey into the winter, and I wanted to take this time to go over the program with you so you are more grounded in it and can have more success and know your way around the program and how to take on yourself in these next 2 weeks. So we're going to do that now, and please visit the Facebook group page that I sent to you. In case you have any questions, you can comment there. If you want to send a personal message, you can do that over email. And of course, I am available for a one-on-one session with you if you want to get into your own health and have some more questions and want to be coached through the program in a more precise and specific way. So I just sent everybody the e-guide through email, and it's 45 pages of wonderful content that I created and I've been working on for the last couple months, and really over the last 8 or so years I've been working with the winter and wintertime distinctions rooted in Chinese medicine and Chinese 5-element theory, which I'll go over with you today when we get through it in the program and why that's important for understanding the winter in this particular way. So I'm going to run through the book with you. This call will probably last about 45 minutes, I can imagine, by the time it takes me to go through everything. So if you're not doing so already, just sit back and relax and find a comfortable space in your home or your office. Maybe lie in bed and listen to this. Do whatever works for you. Maybe have a cup of tea. And this is going to be recorded, so you can obviously go back and listen to it again. So don't worry if you miss anything the first time. Just let everything wash over you and let all the information just be absorbed by your system in the way that the brain can retain information without, in the moment, making sure that you remember everything as it comes up. So it's all there for you. It's all here for you. And away we go. So this is the Winter Health Reset program, and if you notice that the first page is a table of contents, which goes over everything in the book. There's a welcome, an introduction. Pages 5 through 8 are the actual program. So right now we're in day 1, and day 1, 2, and 3 is a pre-program. It's for you to explore and go through the program and start taking on some of the practices and recipes and exercises and self-care tips that I highlight for you. And then when we start in day 4, there's going to actually be specific things to do, and this is a new format for me doing it this way. So your feedback is encouraged. And I'm doing more of a regimen this time around because I think it will hold all of you accountable and perhaps get you inside of a groove so you can really take on a new perspective of being in the winter. So there's a couple pages of that, of the program, the sample schedule. Then there's the philosophy of this program, which is, like I said, based in Chinese 5-element theory, as well as integrative nutrition and bioindividuality, which I'll go through. And then there's the winter food guide, which is really pages 13 through 21. We go through wintertime foods, herbs, elixirs, which are an important part of this program, bone broth, snacks, things to avoid, and some supplements for the winter, which will help you. Then I have a couple pages of recipes. Apologies if you're hearing any of those notification beeps coming in, because I am on my phone right now as well. And then I have a top 5 winter food list that I've highlighted with some recipes. And then the last pages rounding out this program are self-care pages, checklist, meditation, some breathwork exercises, and physical and non-physical exercises that are important. And then there's images that I put towards the last 10 pages in the back of this program, which are the visual representation of things that are practiced in this program that I've taken photos of and made nice little graphics for. So, welcome. Let me see, we're on the welcome page now. You can follow along with me if you'd like. Welcome to your Winter Health Reset program. We're on page 3. And welcome to the winter. I am Brandon Waloff, Holistic Health Counselor and founder of this program. That is clear, obviously. And let's see, is there anything else that's important to go over here? One thing I want to mention is that really the goal of this program, I don't know why a lot of you have chosen to take on the winter. Maybe most of you want to be healthier in the winter, maybe you want to lose weight, maybe you want to have more energy. Really the goal of this program is a reset. Regardless of what happens in the next 2 weeks, this is an opportunity for you to practice new distinctions and new ways of being healthy and alive in the winter, which is generally a time of darkness, deadness, stillness, quietness, and a lot of times people avoid being in the winter in a way that is engaging. A lot of us want to avoid the cold, avoid the darkness. There's seasonal affectiveness disorder, and we want to move through that and pass over those moments. So the goal of this program really is to teach you new ways of relating to the wintertime, ways that will reframe and reset your awareness and attitude, as well as your health and well-being, in hopes of you achieving a higher state of health and wellness. There are a lot of different diets and theories on eating and being healthy in the world. In this program, the main goal is to give you a solid foundation in how we can be happier and healthier in the winter, using principles of Chinese medicine, like I mentioned, as well as some Ayurveda, macrobiotic, and bio-individuality, which there is a sheet on I'll go over. And that really is about, bio-individuality is about your own unique set of it's who you are. Your bio-individuality is who you are, separate from theories on diet and general principles of diet. And, it has to do with your ancestry. It has to do with where you live. It has to do with the climate that you live in, where you work, how active you are, what you like to do, the people in your life, your relationships, your spirituality, your religious practices. It's your whole it's your whole deck of cards, essentially. It's not just the food on your plate, it's really who you are. So there's so many different versions of us and so many different versions of diets that really this is about you. And one thing that I want to preach and encourage you is to feel out what works best for you during this program. There are a lot of suggestions, and with those suggestions, there are also your specific constitutional indications of what's going to work best for you, and hopefully we can hone in on that with this program, and you can really feel what works best, whether that's vegetarian or meat, less dairy, more dairy, whatever. So that essentially is bio-individuality in a nutshell, and let's go down 2 pages here. And then so the program is going to be split into 3 different parts. We're in phase 1 now, which I call acclimation. I know it says acclimations there, that's a typo. And this is where you get to experiment for the first couple days and feel out, some of the different things that look good to you, things you want to try, and really get you ready for phase 2. There is a shopping list which you can look towards. You can also look through the recipes in this book and see things that you want to make, and you can go to the store and you can buy them. So then we're in phase 2, and this is the main chunk of the reset. And when you're in it, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking away sugar and processed sugar foods, as well as other processed foods, which are on the avoid list. But really sugar, coffee, because I know a lot of you are coffee drinkers, so if that looks like reducing your coffee by 1/4 of a cup a day, or 1/2 of a cup a day, or maybe you just don't want to, look, this is your program. You can do it how you want to do it. I am only giving you the guide and the foundation, but you stepped into doing it. So one thing that you may want to think about during this phone call is, why did I choose this, and what is important to me? Because ultimately I'm not going to be there to slap you on the wrist. Not that I would do that anyway, but if you're following the program to a T or not, that's your call. And then the last day, day 14, is what I call reflection, and that is going to be an opportunity for you to look back at the last 2 weeks and see what worked and what didn't work for you. So as we go through the program here on page 5, days 1 through 3, there's a sample food shopping list. And I apologize if I'm speaking fast. This is the main. I'm going through the whole program here, so there'll be other recordings that I'm going to make, which are going to be a lot more dropped in, slower, engaging. But this is I'm going to kind of go through everything. Maybe a little quick, maybe a little quicker than you'd like to, how you'd like to listen to it. So the sample food list, a lot of these things are based in some of the exercises and recipes that you're going to be doing. Like, for instance, 10 organic lemons, as well as a large jar of Bragg's apple cider vinegar. This is for the morning flush every morning. You can start now, but on day 4 we're officially going to start, and you're going to do warm water and lemon, or warm water and apple cider vinegar in the morning, just to get things flushed and moving. That's an important distinction of this program. Celtic or Himalayan sea salt, these are whole food forms of salt, so you want to get the ones with the most minerals in them, and that's going to be important for you, because sea salt actually is a top 5 winter food, even though it's more looked at like a condiment. This is going to be an important part for you to participate in, and I'll go through that too. And then you see things like miso, herbal teas. There's a list of tea in the back. You can read the list. I don't have to go through everything right now, but these are all important parts of the program that are going to be important for you. As well as there's a supplement list. I've only outlined 5 supplements here on the supplement list, although there are 4 listed here. The one missing are adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, astragalus, echinacea golden seal, ginseng, things that are going to help support your immunity throughout the winter. And there are some other supplements here for you too, like, of course, essential fatty acid, fish oil, hemp seed oil, flaxseed oil. Important to get your brain saturated in essential fat for the winter, as well as your body in more of a fatty state in terms of what you're integrating into your diet in terms of fat as a macronutrient. It's important in the wintertime. Probiotics, and as well as I partnered up with a good friend of mine who is a genius. Her name is Katrina Zavalny, and she has a supplement company called Aranya Solutions, and so I've handpicked a couple of the products that she works with and she custom makes, and to be part of this program, which I think are a really nice complement, which are the cold and flu tonic, which is really an immune boosting tonic, an immune stimulating tonic that has other ingredients like reishi mushroom and some of the other adaptogenic herbs that I just mentioned in it. And there's also a clarity and focus tea, which should be really, really great for some of the meditations. So these are ways that you can, for instance, the clarity and focus tea, combining that with the meditation will have you slow down and be in the winter. And that is how we're going to be carving out time for you being healthier in the winter. Because as I mentioned before, and as I'll continue to say over and over again, the winter really is for you to slow down. This is a time for you to slow down, give yourself permission to stop, give yourself permission to stay inside, stay in bed, go to bed early, watch a movie, take care of yourself, and kind of little by little remove yourself in subtle ways that you can from the high energy of the outside world. We live in a very fast society and fast-paced society, so this is really about you slowing down, and the exercises and the supplements and the food here are all designed to support you in that. Boo, 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 and of course green powders are always good. And then there's an exercise and self-care checklist, and as it says on day 4, you'll get more instruction, and on the next page, on page 6, you have days 4 through 13. And on this program, as you can see on the bottom where it says day 4, day 5, day 6, all the way through day 13, these are the different recipes that I'm going to be asking you to make. And why I'm asking you to do these specific ones are these are some of the highlighted recipes and exercises that I think were going to be important for you to ingrain yourself into the winter. And really, because knowing that everybody else is doing these programs, or doing this program with you, the exercises will help you kind of create this virtual synergy. Knowing that other people on day 5 are doing a warming a congee, or on day 11 are doing crockpot creations, will hopefully help you want to do it. And then you can share about it. Yay! Okay. And then there's day 14, page 7, which is about reflection. On page 8, there's a sample schedule. And throughout the course of this program, something that I'm carving out as well is the goal is to eat 3 times, obviously, do 3 self-care practices. This could be anything from taking a nap to a bath to getting a massage to doing self-massage. Maybe it's dancing or meditation or a breathwork exercise. Or it could be a 1-minute meditation, so don't get overwhelmed that you have to do 3 of these things, because there's really a lot of different time-oriented practices you can choose from depending on what works best for you and your bio-individuality. And then there's drink an elixir twice. Elixirs are important because it's the winter time, and we want to drink warming elixirs that move fluid and circulate fluid around our body, because the more circulation there is, the more warm we are going to be, and that is in direct correlation to kidney health, and the kidneys are one of the 2 organs in the wintertime that are, according to Chinese medicine, are very important to nourish. We want to take care of our kidneys. So you can see the sample schedule here, and there's a highlighted block between 3 and 7 p.m., and this is something that I really got inspired and wanted to geek out on, and why I'm inspired about this is because the times between 3 and 7 are important because it's a transitional time. And like I just mentioned, the kidneys, the bladder is also the organ that also relates to the winter time according to Chinese 5-element theory and Chinese medicine. And between 3 and 7 p.m. are the kidney and bladder meridian times. That's a little bit too cerebral to get into right now, but essentially there are different times that different organ systems are recirculating and energizing and resetting throughout the day. Between 3 and 7 is the kidney and bladder, and that is also a time where we're going to be in our own transitioning out of our workday, maybe commuting back home, ending school, and then getting ready for supper, and then eventually the nighttime in bed, and it's also the time where the sun is setting. So this is an important time for you to look at and take note of during the program so you can recharge yourself. A lot of times, when I had a desk job, it would be challenging for me around that time because I got tired. So there are going to be opportunities for you to recharge yourself with some of these exercises and elixirs, especially miso, which is a great way to re-energize yourself in the middle of the afternoon. So that's just a sample schedule, and let's see, moving down, here is winter philosophy, and the philosophy in the winter, I'm probably going to do another call on it in the next day, but I'll go over it briefly here, and it's something that I really get excited about. And most of us look at the winter like, well, I don't know how most of us look at the winter. How I look at the winter is that it's an abundant season just like any other season. But I think a lot of us view it like it's the season where everything kind of stops and as mentioned, when there's imbalance in the winter, I think what can happen to a lot of us is we start to go to excess, and we don't want to face and look at some of the elemental forces that winter is about, like darkness, cold, and quietness, which are kind of like I feel like the three main themes that I seem to be gravitating towards. But there is an abundance here, because the abundance of winter really lies within us, and the external environment of darkness, cold, and quiet really calls out our own internal processes. Things slow down, they get quiet, and we're able to see ourselves in a new way and see our you know, things that are make themselves evident when the dust settles, so to speak. And why we practice things like stillness and meditation in the winter is to tap into that, so we can see who we are, get a clearer version and vision of ourselves, and move forward into the future, and into the spring and summer and fall, and be healthy. So in the winter, like I said, it is dark. The sun makes way for the moon, and the moon represents our inward nature and feminine side, which is really our emotional body, that feeling-based reservoir that I just mentioned. And the winter is what will show us what really is full of life, which is our internal state. And a lot of healing can come out of this, and we use nutrition to help facilitate that opening that the winter provides. You know, eating refined foods and foods that are excessive can block a lot of the channels and cause an emotional imbalance. And since the winter is dark and it's quiet and it is cold, a lot of our emotions can come up. So it's really an opportunity for us to feel those emotional states and go into it and see what they're about. And the moon, as I just mentioned, since it does represent darkness and the emotional body, is connected to the water element, and the water element is what rules the winter in terms of Chinese five-element theory. Each season in Chinese five-element theory, and in their system there are 5 seasons, highlights a different element, a different taste, a different sense organ, a different action, internal organs that are important to look at and nourish, different feelings, different tastes, smells, sounds, emotions, climate, direction. So here in the winter, it's the water element, and that is ruled by the moon and darkness. And the water element also symbolizes our emotional state, and how we look at the water element in that way is that, you know, you can look at a large body of water like the ocean. It's this dark, deep, mysterious body of water that can bring up these emotional feelings for us, and metaphorically is connected to our emotional body. What's powerful and what's tangible is that since the kidney and the bladder are the 2 organs to nourish in the winter, and they are also the organs that process the most fluids and house the most fluids in our body, that being the bladder, which contains and stores the most fluid for excretion, and the kidneys, which circulate and process the most fluids in our body, blood, sweat, tears. It's a huge filtering system, and we want to keep that system moving and fluid. And if there is an imbalance in our diet, or if there's an imbalance in our own winter constitutional or winter constitution, there's going to be an emotional imbalance too. Just because the 2 organs that we focus on and nourish, the kidney and the bladder, or the kidneys and the bladder, move, process, and excrete all of these internal fluids. If there is a blockage, it's going to cause stagnation, and the stagnation will lead to an emotional imbalance, and that is just because the water element in the winter and these 2 organ systems are metaphorically related to that. Make sense? Why don't we just take a breath just for a second here, because there's a lot of information that is happening right now. I'm going to check the time. We're about 24.5 minutes in. I'm going to check one more thing before we keep going. And okay, good. We're still recording here. Hi. Okay. So that being said, moving back to the winter and wintertime distinction, the ocean, water element, when we're in our mother's wombs in fetal state, we're in about a 70–75% saline water solution. The same kind of correlation and connection can be looked at in terms of our own planet. There's about 75% water. The kidneys and the ears form at the same time in the womb as in us when we're in a fetal state at the same time. So, it's pretty amazing that there's 2 kidneys, there's 2 ears, they're both about the same size, and then the sense organ, in the winter, we have 5 senses, Chinese 5-element theory, the winter are the ears, and they're about hearing and listening. So, because everything has become so still in the winter and quiet and dark, we have the opportunity to listen in and see what's going to work best for us in this time, in this new year, and as a way to progress our lives and forward our lives in a way that works. And again, not paying attention to the elemental forces and factors in the winter can lead to an imbalance, because if you're not paying attention and you're just living life the same way you would live life in the summertime, you're maybe going to be more active and exercising outside when it's really cold and staying up late, not getting enough rest. And that'll lead to an emotional imbalance. That could lead to a physical imbalance, and then you won't really get those nuggets of gold and those things that are important for us to look at during this time. So why I'm inspired about this program is because I feel that it helps me look at my life and helps me look at the world in a new way, and it's a very rich time of year. So I invite you to do that as well. The emotion in the winter is fear, which is interesting. Again, if you're not looking at your life in a certain way and are responding to the elements and reacting to them by showing resistance and force, staying up late, excessive behavior, excessive food, sugar, alcohol, caffeine, parties, staying out late, etc., I think the symbolism here is that we're not going to be able to really feel ourselves and feel our fear. We're fighting back, and this is an opportunity for us to feel and transform. And when you're clear and when you're fluid inside and out, fear doesn't grip you the same way. You're not stopped by fear, and you're not going to be stagnated by fear. And stagnation is what we don't want in the wintertime. We want to keep things fluid on a more not at a high pace, but a very grounded, fluid, flowing pace so we can stay warm and healthy. And the exercises and the recipes will help you do that. Let me think about what else I want to say about the philosophy of this program and winter in the Chinese 5-element system. The tissue is bone, and in Chinese medicine and in that system, they look at bone as a tissue. And just like we might say that it's so cold we can feel it down to our bones in the wintertime because it is so cold, I think there's a strong metaphor, and there's a certain flair about that resonates for me, because bone health is what we want to take care of. We want to support our structure and our body at the deepest level, at our core level, on our skeletal structure, and our bones are the foundation of our body. And so we want to penetrate the surface with nutrition and with these exercises to nourish the tissue of bone. And bone broths, which are an important part of the nutritional factor of this program, as well as other parts of nutrition like sea salt and seaweed and ocean food. Again, the water element in the ocean. We take our nutrition from the ocean because that contains the most minerals on Earth, and minerals will help strengthen bones. Besides just calcium and magnesium, an abundance of trace minerals, bone broths as well have that marrow that we get from the bone broth, which besides balancing our central nervous system, will also feed our bones our ligaments, our bone tissue, our joints, and make them stronger and more fluid. So we incorporate bone broth into this program just for that reason. Blue and black are the colors connected to, we're on page 10 now, by the way. I've been going off this sheet and this chart, which comes from a really brilliant book called Staying Healthy with the Seasons by Elson Haas. So thank you, Elson, for this image. And the color is blue and black. And again, it's depth, it's deep, like the ocean, like the water element, like the external world. It's dark. We're in the darkest time of year. Blue-black is the symbolic color. You know, if you wear things that are blue and black, that's also very important to have, according to Chinese medicine. I mean, I've never had a personal experience from this, but wearing blue and black, they say, can help support kidney health and bladder health. And even food that we eat can be blue and black. Black beans, black sesame seeds, black soybeans, darker color foods will help nourish the kidney. Okay, so there's more information there which you can look at on the 3 pages of philosophy, and there's lots of stuff on the internet if you want to explore more, but I want to keep this call going. And bioindividuality, I mentioned a little bit about that earlier. I'm not going to go over it now just because I want to keep the call moving. And, you know, you have everything you need here on page 12 about bioindividuality, as well as a link from Integrative Nutrition, which is where I went to school about 10 years ago, which highlights bioindividuality. And one thing I guess I will say about this is, you know, in terms of you being healthy, there's something called primary food and there's secondary food. Primary food is the food in our life that feeds us. It is our relationships. It is our connection to our own spiritual practices. It is our work and our career, our exercise and movement, things that light us up and things that feed us. And then there are secondary foods. Secondary foods are the food on our plate, things that you eat, right? So when it comes to our health, it's not just about the food. Your bioindividuality is basically looking at those factors, combining them, and also acknowledging your ancestral roots. You know, obviously people who have lineage in Asia are going to have a much different diet and be inclined to eating differently than people who come from Northern Europe. It's because our genetics are, well, you know, just the way it is. So, we're going to keep going here, and now we'll look at the winter food guide, and I highlight some things like on the first page, which is page 13, fruits, nuts and seeds, vegetables. It's pretty self-explanatory. It goes through all those things. One thing I will say about fruit is, you know, because the winter is generally colder in most places around the world than other seasons. Here in California, I mean, today it was like almost 70 degrees, you know, but there are subtle seasonal shifts as well as the more extreme seasonal shifts. I grew up on the East Coast outside of Philadelphia for many, many years, and so we want to stay warm. And so looking at nutrition in a way that besides what we eat, how it affects us energetically is going to be important. We don't want to eat things like, in terms of the predominance, raw food, salads, stone fruit, plums, peaches, apples, lettuce. These are things that are more cooling, they contain more water, and they are going to be energetically create more expansion. Energy is going to leave us. It's designed to cool the system. We're not doing that this winter. If you love raw food and that works really well for you, again, your bioindividuality will tell you, and from a very general state of mind and a general practice, less cooling food, less raw food, less fruit. You can do fruit in the winter. A lot of it is cooked. I have a couple recipes about using apples and cooking them. And then there are things like bananas and citrus fruit. And those citrus fruits and bananas and other tropical fruits have less water in them and aren't as cooling. So if you live in an area where citrus is grown in the winter, eat it. If you live in the Northeast, maybe stay away from it. Again, the external environment will match your internal environment, and Chinese 5-element system connects those two dots. Okay, nuts and seeds. Those are a little bit more important now because it's the winter. We want to have more macronutrients in our lives. And the three macronutrients are fat, protein, carbohydrate. We bulk up on those. More calories. We want to accumulate a little more in the winter so we can burn it off in spring. And again, the idea behind that is it's colder, it's darker, it's quieter. We go in, we shelter, we hibernate, we store. That's it. Nuts and seeds have more fat. There's a vegetable list here for you. Greens, not greens, roots, which are really important. It's actually one of my top 5 winter foods, root vegetables. It grows in the ground, right? In the winter, things die back, and the energy lies in the ground. That is stored. The essence of nutrition and the essence of plant medicine is that the energy of those plants are stored in the ground in the wintertime, and they grow up into the spring, and then depending on what the plant is and how we harvest it, the energy either comes out in the spring, summer, or the fall. But in the wintertime, we eat foods that are grow closer to the ground and are in the ground. And root vegetables, because they generally are more dense and concentrated and have spiral growth pattern. They grow down and in. When we eat them, the energy as well in our bodies will go down and in. We want to bring the energy in, contain heat. Foods that grow up and out, lettuce is a perfect example, is more cooling. It's less dense, so the energy is going to leave your body quicker. Moving on to page 14, there are grains, animal protein, sweeteners, and dairy. You can look at that, and grains. You might have conflicting points of view with some of the participants in this program, but here is a general list. And again, if there was a time to bulk up on grains, the summer will be it. And oats is something that is important. It's a top 5 winter food. And if you do soaked whole oats overnight and combine some whey protein or some apple cider vinegar, not whey protein, whey, or apple cider vinegar in the soak water, it will help lacto-ferment and help break down the outer structure of the bran and the husk, which will allow more minerals to be absorbed, because generally grains should be soaked because they have something called phytic acid, and phytic acid will actually help you not absorb nutrients and minerals because they are a mineral inhibitor. They block the absorption of them. So when you soak them properly, you remove that, and then you can eat food, get the minerals from the food. And so animal protein, personally, I do eat meat. I used to be a vegan. I used to be a vegetarian. Now I listen to myself and I eat what works for me, and I feel like I'm the healthiest I've been. Animal protein here, I like putting beef short ribs and making stocks in them, and getting winter nutrition and a lot of animal protein in the winter, more so than any other time of year, because I can geek out on stocks and broths and soups, and throwing in making chicken soup, or like I said, I like to do ribs. I like to do beef short ribs in a crock pot, cook it overnight. Really nourishing for me. It feels really good. It digests instantly. I feel like I absorb all of it. That works for me and my Eastern European heritage. Sweeteners. Again, we're not going to be doing processed sugar starting on day 4, and there's some other sugar or other sweetener you can do, like honey, maple syrup, molasses, rice syrup, and stevia. So just be aware of that. Spices on the next page, page 15, are important. Spices are very warming. These spices are very warming, and again, we want to stay warm. Seaweed and legumes, they have a connection. I would definitely recommend buying some kombu, and if you cook beans or grain, putting a little cut piece of that, a little sheet or a half sheet of kombu in the soak or the cook water, that'll also help break down heavier carbohydrate starches, which will help you absorb the beans and not have gas, basically. Beans don't always make you fart. They actually can, and usually are good for your heart. And if you soak with kombu, you're going to basically separate them and you won't have indigestion and gas. So go for it. Sea vegetation, one thing I do want to mention is that Fukushima and the Pacific Ocean, a lot of people here in California are moving away from seaweed and sea vegetation from the Pacific Ocean. There is a lot of concern with radiation and radioactive pollution in the environment. So if you can, Maine coast is a great product. They harvest their seaweed in Maine. Obviously, that's the Atlantic Ocean, and it's really a shame that we live in a world right now where, you know, we have to be really careful about where we eat our food from because of toxicity. The flip side of that is that if you eat things like kelp or other seaweeds, especially not a seaweed here is miso, they will punch out radioactive material. It's called chelation by replacement, and that will remove radioactive material from your body. So food does heal, obviously, and those are a couple of examples of that. We go to page 16, which is the herbs and tea section. Herbs and tea, I break down different ways you can infuse, decoct, and make different teas. And if this is a little bit too much and a little too advanced for you because you're not an experienced herbal tea maker or loose tea maker, you can just, there's a little beginner box there, and you can just buy some recommended tea bags in those forms. Which are good choices. And, you know, again, tea is, besides it being very healthy and healing, it's also reflective, so it'll go very, very well with some of the exercises here. Condiments are important. Condiments in the sense of I'm not talking about ketchup and mustard. I mean some of the macrobiotic condiments like tamari, which is like soy sauce. It's a wheat-free version of soy sauce, or a wheat-free version of shoyu. It's called tamari. Umeboshi plums and umeboshi plum vinegar is really awesome. I personally love it. There's definitely some mention of that on the guide here on page 16. It's very tangy, it's salty. Salty is an important taste according to Chinese medicine because salt descends. It's also a crystal. It promotes clarity. It's a crystal, right? So it also is descending. The nature descends. It draws energy down and in, and in the winter that's where we want to go. So umeboshi plums are really yummy. Also very alkalizing, takes us out of an acidic and inflamed state. But it also tastes really good. So umeboshi plums or umeboshi plum vinegar, it's very accessible in any health food store. And then of course sauerkraut and kimchi. These are the fermented foods which can be used as a condiment, which are really high levels of enzymes and probiotics for digestion and assimilation, and they affect the whole body on a lot of different scales. The next page that I want to talk about are the elixirs, and this is one of my favorite subjects, and it's one of the things that we're going to be looking at in the winter, and you incorporating as an important part of this program, besides it being very healthy. Elixirs are what I call like a nutritionally dense beverage or drink that will help the system. That also will promote circulation and movement in the body, which is what we want in the winter. We don't want to stagnate when it's cold, it's dark, it's quiet. We don't want that to happen. So some of these elixirs are very healthy and healing for that. And you know, I put a green smoothie in there and green juice, just I threw it in, but some of like the real best elixirs are a broth, either a veggie stock, an animal broth, a bone broth, apple cider vinegar, warm water and lemon, miso soup, and herbal tea. Those are the real gems of this program and are some of my favorite elixirs. And you know, I've highlighted some of them here for you to use. If you know some other ones, feel free to use them. Then there's a whole section on bone broth. There's how to make it. It comes from the book Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon, who is an incredible nutritionist and very, very rooted in a traditional diet and nutritional nutrition based on our ancestry and where we came from. And, you know, I mentioned a little bit about it before, and here is a whole page for you on how to make a bone broth. And I would really encourage you, if you don't have an aversion to bones or animal products or animal nutrition, to eat a bone broth. and make a bone broth in the winter. You can freeze it. You can do a little bit as an elixir every day. Maybe you just make a whole stock of it, a whole batch. You drink a little bit each day. It's good. I'm going to do it. I hope you do it with me. This is why I created this whole thing. I've been doing this program forever. I've been doing it. It's my own program. I've just put it on paper finally. So, cool. I had some snacks because we all like snacks. Things like winter energy balls. Macro savory toast is on there. That's something that I made. I concocted a couple weeks ago. I took a picture. There's a whole infographic on the back of this program so you can see how to make that. As well as almonds, crispy almonds, baked kale chips, blanched almonds. Blanched almonds are great. This is an Ayurvedic recipe that I was given a long time ago by a practitioner. You can just throw a handful of raw almonds into boiling water for about 30 seconds to a minute, then strain the water, let them cool, pop the skins off, and eat them. Really good for winter energy, really good for a winter snack, also very healing and supportive. They say that, that almond skins are the best for your intestinal tract or your digestion, so this takes care of that. And here is the avoid list on page 20. And the avoid list is important because it's things that you are going to be avoiding. Yes, there are things that you're going to be avoiding, and here are some of them. Besides like some of the things that I mentioned earlier, like lettuces and stone fruits and cooling foods, sugar, alcohol, caffeine, refined, cooked, and expeller pressed oils, the best you can to avoid these is great. You want to do cold pressed oils, wheat flour and baked goods, refined salt. While it's great and it is very true that we do sea salt, which is a whole food form of salt containing all of the minerals from the ocean in which it came, or even in the ground, or the mountains, wherever these sea salt beds came from, either ocean or on land. They contain all these trace minerals, which are generally more fluid and immune supportive to the body. They are a little bit cooling, but it's not the cooling in the sense where it's a condiment. It's not going to make you cold. It actually will be very supportive for you with your diet and in combining sea salt in your diet. Refined salt, they strip all of the minerals out of that, what was once a sea salt, and it's just NaCl, sodium chloride, which is a very heating and stressful effect on the kidneys, which can affect heart health. Kidneys are stressed. It's not moving the blood and filtering the blood in the way that we want. It's putting strain on the heart, which is why they say refined salt can increase your blood pressure. So going to sleep too late, you definitely want to go to bed earlier and get rest. Staying on your electronics or computer for up to an hour within bedtime. I think I meant staying off your electronics or computer up to an hour within bedtime. That has to do with brain health. I'm definitely going to practice that because I'm not good at that. Not chewing your food. You want to avoid not chewing your food with chewing your food. Better for digestion. Drinking with your meal. If you can, start making a practice to drink at the end of your meal or after your meal. That will also help with your digestion and your overall system. Avoid negative thoughts. You know those very well. You know what your negative thoughts are. Avoid indulging in fear. Stop it. No more fear. Avoid being cold. Stay warm. Bundle up. Even if you think it's kind of not that cold, just do it. It's going to help your body out so much more. Excessive behavior, I mentioned, being too heady, and worrying. Avoid those things. It'll make your life easier. Okay, just had a call come in. Wanted to make sure that I didn't drop this call. Let's see. Next one is supplements. I go over some supplements here. Omega fatty acids, just for the reason that we are going to be incorporating more fat into our diet. Essential fatty acid is great for brain and liver health and overall anti-inflammatory health. It's a great supplement to have, which will just help memory and brain health and skin and the other things I just mentioned. Probiotics, of course. Greens powder, one thing I didn't mention earlier, is that, greens powder have all the chlorophyll and nutrients in it which come from the sun. And since that in the wintertime, there's less sun and less light, you can go to greens to get that sun energy into your body. Adaptogenic herbs I mentioned also, and then Arania Solutions, my friend and genius partner, Katrina Zavalny. If you want to add on and get some of these products, the cold and flu and the clarity and focus tea, and the cold and flu tonic, let me know, and I can make sure we get those to you ASAP. And if it doesn't happen for this program, you can have it for after the program. And then I have a couple recipes, eating light and eating hearty. I know that some of you may wake up in the morning or at lunch or at night, have different levels of hunger, so I separated the food into eating light and eating hearty, because sometimes I don't always have the same breakfast. So there are some recipes here. Two of the recipes are called congis, which is a Chinese way of eating. It's a Chinese recipe, which is basically you take a handful of rice and however many rice, let's say a cup, and about 12 to 16 times the amount of water. Instead of like 2 cups water to 1 cup rice, you're doing 12 to 16 cups water to 1 cup rice. Cook it, simmer it for a long time, drink the water. You can add other ingredients like ginger or other root vegetables to it. And this is supposed to energize and nourish the system, and really also help people who are a little more on the deficient or colder constitution. People like me who are more skinnier, who have less body fat for heat. So, but it's also good overall for all people. Stewed apples is something that I really like to encourage. Cooked apples in the morning with some clove powder or whole cloves are very important, and it's the detoxifying, nice winter recipe. They're cooked, so it's warming as well. I also talk about miso there. The next page on eating light, there's some other recipes, including golden winter broth, which is another concoction that I created, and there is a visual infographic about what that looks like as well at the end of the section. Eating hearty, there's 4 recipes here. There's some other recipes on the top 5 foods, which I do highlight, and those are important as well if you want a heavier meal, you're hungrier, and these are some good ones to try out as well. I will mention crockpot creations here. It's something that I coined. And crockpot creations are basically, if you have a crockpot, great. You put all your ingredients in the crockpot, which I mentioned, cover it with water, put it on low, either all day long or overnight. If you do it overnight, you have your breakfast made in the morning for you. You don't have to do anything. It's there. If you can keep it on all day, come back from work or wherever you're at during the day, have it for dinner. Really, really suggested recipe. I encourage you to do it. If you don't have a crock pot and you're going to be around all day, simmer on a big, large pot all these ingredients and just kind of keep checking in with the pot so you don't, burn your house down. Okay, top 5 winter foods. I'm just going to quickly peruse through these. Number 1, sea salt. Number 2, oats. Number 3, miso. Number 4, root vegetables. Number 5, seaweed. I mentioned all of those already. And then we get to page 30, which is our self-care checklist. Things like meditation. A dry skin brush. There is an infographic here at the back of the guide. This is a great way to energize and start your day or end your day, or just when you're tired. Just take a loofah, usually a natural sponge loofah, and just brush your body dry. In the privacy of your own home, obviously, or try it in public. That could be another, way to bust through fear if you feel like being vulnerable. Do-in self-massage. It's a really, really great exercise which will basically taps along your body, all over your body, to energize your system. Self-massage with sesame oil or coconut oil is really good to help relieve any kind of knots or toxins in your body. You just give yourself a nice oil massage. Maybe sit in meditation for a half an hour. I used to do this all the time. When I lived on the East Coast in the winter, I would douse myself in oil, sit on a towel on my yoga mat, do some meditation, let it sink in. Ayurveda says that you put the oil on your body and it releases, I forget what they're called, but they're just toxins stored inside your tissues. The oil sinks in, penetrates, loosens the tissue, releases it, and then you shower and you wash it all off and you feel good. You can also do a little massage after your shower that'll help absorb. And there's some other ones too. You know, self-care could be taking a nap, it could be going for a hike, it could be going for a walk, it could be chewing your food, taking a deep breath. It's about you feeling into what you need and what your body needs when you need it, listening to it, following it. Self-care, love your body. Boom. The next page is a page on meditation. There are different meditations here. Things like looking out at the winter landscape and seeing all of the leaves falling off the trees and the sun setting early and maybe some snow on the ground, and understanding and reflecting upon that as it is winter, and we can see ourselves in the whole year-long cycle when we focus on that. So I included these winter landscape meditations and things like moon gazing meditations, although right now you won't see the moon because we just started the new moon yesterday. So the sky is at its darkest, which is a good time for me to mention that the reason why I chose to do this program starting on the new moon going to the full moon is because obviously the water element is ruled by the moon. The winter is more moon time than any other season. And we're starting at the new moon right now, and we're moving towards the full moon. So the new moon is great for starting new things. And then when we get to the full moon in 2 weeks, it's full illumination. You're getting the sun's reflected light off of the moon. And day 14 on this program is for reflection. So you get to see everything. You get to see yourself, see how your program was, see how your life is going. And we are 2% of the way through 2014 in 2 weeks. So there's some other exercises there. There's some breathing exercises, which will be great to do in the morning or anytime you need some energy or just decompress. There's some instruction here on how to do that as well. And then exercise list, physical exercises, yoga, dance, weight training. You know, you can do things like push-ups and squats if you want. That's a great way to build energy using your own body weight and using your own core to stimulate and create internal combustion and heat. Going out for a run when it's 20 degrees outside isn't the best idea because you're going to really tax your system and exhaust yourself. Stay indoors if you can do exercise and movement. Dancing is great. Yoga is obviously great. You know, we're focusing on slower, more meditative movement, and weight training is really good because it's going to build heat. And then there's also some mental and spiritual movements like Tai Chi. I included stretching again, dancing again, because dance can be very slow as well as it can be fast and exuberant. And that is it. In the next couple pages, you'll see some infographics that I made that are connected to this program. So enjoy looking at those. And I really am excited for you to participate in this program, and we're just coming up on an hour, so the call is ending. I'm going to go drink some tea or some water for myself and my throat's sake, and I'm excited. So please go to the Facebook page, email me if you have any questions, let me know what you need, share with your community, get to know each other if you want. That's what I want. I get there's a lot of things on Facebook, so you don't always have the time, but use this as a resource for you to go into yourself, into your health, and do this program because you said you wanted to do this program. You came to me and said, I want it. I said, okay, here it is. Now it's up to you. As you're also going to get daily emails as part of this program, so check your inbox. If you have Gmail, look in your promotions folder because that's where MailChimp is going to. I'll also do my best to post a link every day from the MailChimp email that I create to the Facebook page. So those are your sources, those are your resources. I wish you well, and you know, to your health. Happy winter, happy New Year, and I'll talk to you next time. Over and out. This has been Brandon Waloff recording January 2nd, 2014 Winter Health Reset Program. Woohoo! Talk to you guys later.